Hey, you! Is this pot yours? What happened to what was inside?
Are you hungry? I'm afraid I ate it all. There's nothing left.
Fina! That does it! Hey! Come on and fight! I'll take you on. I'll make you into stew.
Hi, I'm John Tickles, and welcome back to Remote RPGs. Now, let's talk about a great RPG that came out in 1997, was huge and just incredible. Well, it's not Final Fantasy VII. And just like that, insane Final Fantasy VII fanboys will try to find me and sacrifice me in their Sephiroth altar in their closet. However, if you're anybody else, and I really hope you are, then you might say, well, Grandia, of course. Wait, what's that? Grandia isn't a remote RPG? Well, okay, it's not that well known, and people don't talk much about the series anymore, so checkmate bitches, I win again. For those of you who don't know, Grandia is the first game in the Grandia series, which was originally released on the Sega Saturn in 1997, Japan only. It was released by Game Arts, but Grandia was originally planned for the Sega CD, but development jumped to the more current Sega Saturn. What's a Sega Saturn? Well, I would tell you, but no one cares. Let's just say it's the Rebecca Black of video game consoles. When originally released in 1997, Grandia was expected to be a quote-unquote Final Fantasy VII killer, but it obviously didn't do that well. The game was quite well received and became even more popular enough to become imported by American gamers. But the general public wouldn't get a North American version until a PlayStation port was released in 1999. This port, which is the version I'm reviewing, was seen as graphically inferior to the Sega Saturn version, but the PS1 version still holds out, and it's also on the PlayStation Network for pretty cheap today. So what's the story of Grandia? Well, it's another tale of adventure, young love, and friendship. Oh yes, so original. But it makes sense because Game Arts did do the Lunar series years earlier. However, when I say adventure, I really mean it because this is just a game about a huge world, all about adventure! The game follows the story of a young girl named Justin. Okay, no, it's a guy, but come on, you could have fooled me. And he certainly changes his hair color as often as girls do. Anyway, he inherits his dead father's mysterious future plot device, and Justin takes his 8-year-old friend, Sue, and abandons his single mother to seek adventure in the new world. And of course, as you can guess, he gets wrapped up in a quest to find an ancient civilization, stop an army, and save the world. Although the story does sound cliche, it's really the little things that make the game what it is. Like the interactions between the characters at dinner, the subtle relationships they all have with each other, the occasional curveballs, and the giant talking rabbits. As the title of the game implies, this is a huge and beautiful world to explore, and you really do feel the excitement that your protagonist Justin does. You start off in the small industrializing city of Parm, as kids collecting pots and shields, just playing with friends using their imagination. However, one small step leads to another, as every event starts to feel significant, whether it's leaving your family on a ship or reaching the edge of the world. It reminds me a lot of Illusion of Gaia for the Super Nintendo, both for its plot and the theme of exploration. The game isn't overly serious or dark, it's about the quest and the characters, how they change from the things they learn about themselves. Really, in terms of story and the world Grandia creates, it's something special and memorable in many different ways than Final Fantasy VII, but just as good. Basically, for anyone with ADD, it can keep your attention for over 40 hours. So how about the characters in this grand journey? Well, there's the protagonist Justin, of course. We have an RPG protagonist who isn't silent for once.
Hey, Justin! Ouch! Mom!
Okay, so maybe Justin is a little annoying and isn't too deep of a character or really compelling, but he's a romanticist with an unbreakable spirit, and he really works as an excellent protagonist considering the tone and themes in the story. My favorite part about Justin is how he handles imminent death. Here, when he's about to be eaten by this huge monster after getting his ass handed to him, all he says is,
Oh, darn it. What a
And here, when he's falling miles down towards his death. Say what you want about the way he dresses and acts, but no one screws with him. Vina is a legendary explorer. At the age of what, 14? Are you kidding me? Did she find the Holy Grail when she was like 8? Anyway, she's Justin's love interest, and she's actually pretty likable and well-developed female lead, as she starts out as a mentor to Justin before they eventually treat each other like equals, and it was pretty interesting to watch that develop. Sue is Justin's best friend, for some reason, and believe it or not, she's actually my favorite character in the game. Most of the time. She's really young, even by RPG standards, but she acts more mature than Justin does without coming across as annoying or stuck in there for comic relief. She's developed well as a young girl who wants to mature but has to accept and embrace her fragile condition, which she realizes later in the quest. Gadwin is a hermit and knight who acts as a replacement for Justin's father and a mentor to him. He's reliable and powerful, but I just can't help but wonder why a grown man travels around with a bunch of children.
You mouth off to me or I'm gonna slap you right in your penis.
Pedal faster! I can't go any faster!
Where you going, kids? Hey, I just want to talk to you.
I'm just saying. Rap is, well, he's there because they pretty much ran out of ideas, so he gets the official stamp of lame. Milda is this crazy beast woman who's from a village where giant humanoid women mate with giant male cows. Okay, I'll stop now so the mental images of their reproduction seep in. And now that you're thoroughly traumatized, there's a giant talking merchant bunny Guido. But I'm not quite sure what race they're trying to make fun of here. But he does keep putting a ah sound in the middle of every sentence, kind of like a Mario. But it's just weirder. Ah, Justin, welcome to my home.
Yes, man. My name is Borat. This is my country of Kazakhstan. It's nice.
And that covers most of the major characters, but of course there's just too many to talk about. I actually have to mention that the main villain of the game is a little too predictable and over the top, but that comes expected with this pretty lighthearted game. Now for the battle system, which is generally considered one of the best parts of Grandia. You can control up to 4 characters at once, and the biggest thing about this battle system is that there's a timer on the bottom, with an icon for all units on the field. Whichever little avatar reaches the end of the bar first gets to act, and then it takes a little more time to actually perform that act. However, being attacked before a move is completed can result in a move being cancelled, so your goal is to time your attacks right to cancel out your enemy's onslaught while dishing out your own. Also, with a strong but linear magic system, battles were quite enjoyable in this game overall, but I felt that they suffered a little from a lack of variety. For example, in Persona 3, the only way to be successful in combat was to exploit weaknesses by changing up your strategy every time. But in Grandia, I found I relied on the same moves a little bit too much, although there were a variety of attacks and a good focus on elemental attributes. The only other little gripe I had with the battles were the one-liners that each character spewed every time they did a move. I'm pretty sure a puppy dies somewhere every time these lines are uttered. Also, you can see enemies on screen, but you probably shouldn't run away from too many of them because some of the bosses can get a little tricky later on in the game. It's those later encounters that break the monotony and keep you on your toes, as the game features a pretty fair learning curve. But it could have been a lot harder if your party wasn't fully healed at the multitude of save points. As good as the battles were, let's not forget that the main focus of this game is exploration. There's obviously a lot to see and do, but it's pretty damn easy to get lost, which I did often. Even though they give you a freaking compass, it doesn't help much. But remember, it's the journey, not the destination, right? No. I can only handle so much before my party runs out of food, and then we have to get really desperate.
I wonder what's for dinner.
Navigating is a vital part of the game, which is expected because of the adventurous tone, but only certain places really gave me an issue. For the most part, it was just a blast to explore the world and grab treasures. There were also some puzzles in the game that gave you like an Indiana Jones feeling through these old ruins. Well, okay, it was a little less badass and kiddie. More like that Mutt Williams feel. never mind. Just know that the puzzles were good, but too many were just about time consuming more than using your brain. The graphics are obviously mixed. The environment and world itself is detailed, varied, and beautiful. Many of the places you visit are extremely memorable, like Parm, the edge of the world, and yeah, that village where giant anthropomorphic cows hook up with human women. Nice. Although the background graphics and battle animations look pretty damn good, the character sprites look extremely dated. This is especially noticeable when rotating the camera, as the sprites look 2D in a 3D world. Aside from this, it's an appealing game to look at most of the time, but it probably wasn't too impressive by the time the 1999 port rolled around, although these are technically 1997 graphics. The music was also pretty damn good for the most part. The best themes are those that are grand and sweeping to fit the tone of the game, but there was still a lot of themes that were really memorable on their own. It was a moving and varied soundtrack. I also have to mention that I really appreciate it when an RPG switches up the battle music after a while. In too many RPGs, you hear the same battle music for the whole 50-hour quest, but in Grandia, they switched up the music on the second disc, which all games can do. I mean, Xenogears abused their battle music so hard that I actually hate some of those songs, even though objectively they're really good. Or maybe it's because I already had a headache from trying to understand the plot of that game. Anyway, my favorite themes include Stand and Rise, the Disc 2 battle theme, and Sea Cat Lily Restaurant. Of course, some of the music was really repetitious and just plain annoying, trying to capture that tribal feel of the game in some of the areas, but just listen. I also have to mention that the voice acting is legendarily bad. I mean, Lena would turn down the volume on her TV. Basically, the voice actors came and they had to fully try to make these lines sound like ass, and they nailed it.
I, Gadwin, certainly see your greatness as a warrior and as a man.
Justin! My body! So hot! Can't take it! My body! It's burning!
Fina! Oh no! Fina!
My sister! What? Lean! Help!
Die, you worms! Together with this burning ship!
I love you more than anyone else. Much more.
What are you saying, Lee? I should be the one saying that. I wanted to release you from those wounds that torment you so.
I'm gonna knock y'all down at once! Ha! Hurrah!
I show no mercy.
Moses, that is terrible. It makes the voice acting in Symphony of the Night sound like Beethoven's symphonies. In conclusion, Grandia is the little RPG that could. It's a game with more heart than most I've ever played. A game where it's really about the climb, and not exactly what's at the summit. The best way I've heard this game described is as a video game with the charm and scope of a Hayao Miyazaki film that's just as good as Final Fantasy VII, just in different ways. These characters go through a lot in this cinematic and unforgettable journey, and the player becomes a part of the upbeat fun and multitude of hardships all the way through. Of course, like every other game, it's not perfect, and clearly a little dated, but it's seriously a must-play for RPG fans. People don't talk about this game anymore, but they really should because it's an undeniable classic of the genre. It earns a place of one of my favorite RPGs of all time, and that is saying something. So, at the very least, get off your ass and buy it for $10 on the PlayStation Network. You won't regret it. Well, that's all for now, so until we meet again, I'm John Tickles, and I look forward to our next random encounter.
I wonder what's for dinner.